Hello and welcome to the How It's Really Going podcast with Shana Recker. I am Shana Recker and I am super excited to evolve this podcast into its next evolution, which is me sharing my journey as an entrepreneur, 40-something-year-old entrepreneur. I'm actually at this point when this podcast episode releases, I am 47 and I am an entrepreneur that just recently was diagnosed with ADHD, and I'm doing all the things, working from home, family, kids, dogs, cats, trying to figure it all out, just like you. And I wanted to create a space where I could show up and share the things that I'm personally going through as I'm building a business and pursuing my dream of becoming a successful entrepreneur, creating the income that I desire, having the clients, having the influence using social media and, being somebody who's creating an impact in this world. And I wanted to have a spot where I could share how that is really going. Because I think the internet, which I love and I use every single day, and I'm super grateful for it, the social media, just everything. I have found that there's a lot of, over the years, there's been a lot of sort of artificial, I don't know if that's the right word, but artificial ways of showing up to try and show a level of success that in some cases might not be actually true. In some cases it might be true, but it's all being used as a way to prove and show and say, hey, I'm good enough. Join me, join my program, join my thing. And I'm specifically speaking more to the coaching industry, I guess, per se, because that's really that's my niche, is working with coaches, new coaches. But there has been this sort of feeling of that social media is specifically is a space where, people call it the highlight reel or whatever. And I believe it's hard for newer entrepreneurs who are coming into the online space at this point in time to, feel like what they're doing is going to be successful, or is it, or even if it matters, or that they're good enough, or all of these things. They struggle with finding their way because they're constantly comparing themselves to this highlight reel of success. And I mean, I am not immune from that. I have done that myself in my social media share. I have no problem sharing celebrations and wins and all of those things, but I have a problem if that's all someone is sharing, because there is a duality to that, and the duality is the struggle, right? We can't know the celebrations and the wins and the positives without also, experiencing some struggles and some obstacles and things like those. That's a law, right? There's the law of opposites, good and bad, right and wrong. Like everything has two sides. And so I wanted to create, and I've always been this way, and it's kind of interesting that this podcast is kind of circling back to this. When I first started my podcast back in 2016, it was called Keeping It Real. And when I named it that, because I wanted to talk about, at that point I was talking with network marketers specifically, but I really wanted to share the real side of what it takes to build, at that point, a network marketing business, the good and the bad. And and then my podcast shifted to the Dream Hustle podcast, and then it was the Pursuit podcast, all with the same sort of theme of, growing yourself personally and pursuing your goals. But now I really want to make sure that it's very clear that this space is about having real, authentic conversations about both sides of entrepreneurship, especially, in my world, I work with a lot of women. Work with women in their, anywhere between, 35, basically. I mean, all ages, but mainly my clientele is between like 35 and I would even say upwards of 60, 65. And a lot of the women in that group that I work with are much like myself. They're dealing with life, kids. For me, it's actually kids and young adults. I've got, a 20-year-old, an 18-year-old, and a 12-year-old at home right now. I'm dealing with perimenopause. I'm dealing with, like I said, my ADHD diagnosis, which tends to happen to women as they go through perimenopause. They discover they also have ADHD. And there's a lot of things going on in that sort of age range. And we are entrepreneurs building businesses. And like, it's a fucking lot. It's just a lot. And I really want to bring the conversation to the table of all the sides of entrepreneurship and going after the things that you desire. And not just about, hey, here's a topic to help you grow your business and let's talk about it. And here's the thing. I want this to almost be like my own reality show where I'm sharing with you, what's happening in my world on a regular basis and what I'm going through real time, and having these discussions with you, because I truly believe that when we share all of the pieces and parts of what we're going through and growing through as humans, other people get to hear that and then be served by that. They get to learn from it, right? It's like, oh, okay, that's what she did. Like, I can't tell you how many people are coming to me right now in my DMs on Instagram because since I've talked about being ADHD and then the perimenopause and the combination, how many women are coming forward and coming to me and saying, I think I have this. I think I'm, now because of listening to you, I'm like going to see my doctor. I'm going to talk about this because I didn't realize I was struggling in this way. And now that I'm thinking about it, I see it. And, what you said helped me. And it's like, that's what this is about. That's what this is about. This is about just showing up and sharing and talking about the things. And there's nothing that's not on the table here. Everything's included. I mean, obviously this is more about business and entrepreneurship than it is about, relationships or kids and things like that. But those things aren't, void from this podcast. Those things will all come to the table because they all play a role in entrepreneurship. We're all trying to juggle all the balls and make a living and make it work. And so that's why I shifted this podcast to how it's really going. It's really, to be honest, if I think about this whole podcast from day one, that's really was the mindset from the very beginning. And I'm excited to come back to this and really have these conversations here and share, my experiences. And it's not, I will still be bringing guests on this podcast, guests that align with the mission and the purpose here, whether it's entrepreneurship, maybe somebody who's about ADHD, maybe somebody is talking about menopause, maybe somebody is talking about, just anything and everything to do with personal development and business. But so there will still be guests, but the main focus of this is me turning on my mic and telling you what's going on and telling you what's happening in my world and telling you and sharing with you what I'm struggling with and what's working and what's not working and what I've learned and mistakes that I've made and things that I'm celebrating and wins. And yeah, sometimes I'll be sharing with you what I have to offer, because I know a lot of my clients or a lot of my listeners have become clients of mine because they hear and they get to know me and like me and trust me through the podcast. And then they see the offers and the programs and the things that I do. And, they come into my world and oftentimes they'll say, where did you find me? And they'll say, oh, I listened to your podcast. And so I will talk about the containers and the things that I have available to support you. Now, if you are new to this podcast, if you just found this because we just relaunched this and you found it based on the title or a search or something, I am Shana Rucker, and I am a mom. I am a wife. I have dogs and cats, and I specifically in my business work with new or newer coaches in the online industry, in the online coaching industry, the knowledge industry, self-education industry, whatever you want to call it. And my mission is to help as many women as I can. I'm not opposed to working with men. I don't know, for whatever reason, I prefer to work with women. Help them take their business idea, their skills, their talents, their abilities, and I help them turn it into their coaching business. So from the strategies to the technology to how to show up on social media, the program and the container that I have that specifically helps coaches is called the Client Attractor. And it's where I give you the how-tos of setting up the foundation for a coaching business. And based on my own experience, based on what I've learned from my mentors and coaches, it's all based off of those two things, basically. And what I teach inside that container, it's supported with weekly group coaching calls, and there's lots of great stuff inside of that. But this is mainly what I do. This is the business that I am personally building and talking about throughout this podcast. So if you are an online coach or an online entrepreneur or service provider, maybe you're just a 40-something-year-old woman who's dealing with ADHD and is maybe even just considering entrepreneurship. Maybe you're tired of your career and you're looking for a change. Any one of those things, you will find value here. And I am really excited for this next evolution. I can't even describe the feeling in my heart that this is so right. And it's when you know, that's how I feel. When I got the idea for this and I started to kind of put the pieces together, it's a feeling. And it was actually a little bit of a scary feeling because honestly, I thought about, and I still might do this, I'm going to see how it goes, is like literally every day at like 3:00, just turning on my mic and sharing what's going on in my day, like what's happened that day, or like not in a boring way, but like, hey, here's what I was struggling with, or here's the conversation I had with this, or here's the topic that we talked about today, just whatever. The daily part of it kind of, there was a little bit of fear there. So for now, I'm going to do it regularly, which may mean daily, which may mean, I don't even know. I'm not even going to put a number on it. I'm not going to say, because I'm just going to let it be what it is. And if it ends up being, 5 episodes a week, 2 episodes a week, 8 episodes a week, whatever, anytime I feel compelled to turn on this mic and share something with you, I'm telling you right now, the day that I record it is the day that I upload it. So, I am absolutely stripping all of the rules out of this podcast. Like you'll notice there's no music at the beginning, there's no jingle, there's no intro, there's no fancy outro, there's none of that stuff. You guys, I am literally turning on my Zoom, hitting record, and here we are. That's how this podcast is created. I am not editing it, and I am just uploading it. I want real, raw, authentic. I want you to hear my ums. I want you to hear me repeat things a million times. I want you to hear when I kind of have a bit of a cold like I do right now. All the things. There is zero perfection in this podcast, and that is the way that I want it. And that's the way that I will continually show up, is I will do it messy, and I will do it the way that I feel like it needs to be, because you know what? This is the thing, we get caught in overthinking, and then overthinking kills dreams. And this feels too right and too good to squash with overthinking. So here we are. So that is why we are here. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I have actually gone ahead and recorded a couple of episodes for you guys to listen to after this one, just to help get some things going. And then everything else from, the few episodes that are here plus this one going forward is all just, like I said, I'm turning on the mic and I'm sharing what's going on and my thoughts on whatever's happening in the entrepreneur world that I see, that I want to share, that I feel is important. That's how this is going to go. So thank you guys so much for being here. If you do want to connect with me outside of this podcast, the best place to do that is on Instagram. My handle is I am Shana Recker, all together. So I am Shana Recker is my Instagram handle. Please feel free to connect with me if you are loving anything in here. You have questions, comments, anything you want. My DMs are open. So I look forward to connecting with you there. So thanks everybody so much for being here. And I'm super excited for this next evolution. And welcome to the How It's Really Going podcast with Shana Recker.